Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Ahotnik, which is brought to you by AM Games and Mazzy Games. It's for 2 to 12 players, ages 13 and up, and games generally run about 100 minutes. I don't know who started it, but pointing fingers has no meaning anymore. The problem is, who is going to end it? Out there, the Ahotnik giant robots are fighting each other. The first nation to successfully take over another Ahotnik's technology could overpower their own and become unstoppable. In Ahotnik, you will form pairs, so 2 players will act as the pilots of these giant robots, each of which has its own unique designation, starting with OXO. Their goal is to be the first team to eliminate a rival's Ahotnik. But during the battles, otherworldly creatures, referred to as demons, emerge from the mysterious portals and try to wreak havoc on Earth. By destroying the Ahotniks, the teams must fight on both fronts if they are going to be the one to bring glory to their nation. But beware, your thirst for power must not come at the cost of total global annihilation. So a game of Ahotnik is played over a series of rounds, which are divided into 4 phases. Now you're going to start off with the pilot phase, where pilot or player pairs try to coordinate by using their action tiles, which represent the cerebral commands you are sending to your Ahotnik. The success of your strategy depends on your level of being in sync with your fellow pilot. Next, we have the Ahotnik phase, where these giant robots activate based on the actions chosen by you, the pilots or players, and how well you were in sync. Performing these actions in order, you'll start with tactical actions. These actions can have offensive, defensive, or strategic effects. Next, we invoke the movement actions, simply moving your OXO on the game board. And finally, the attack actions, the main but not the only method to damage your enemies. After you've fully activated your giant robot, then we move to the demon phase, and any demons in play will activate. There is a radar, and this radar will also indicate if any new portals open and increase the global threat levels this turn. And then finally, we end the round with the recovery phase, where certain game elements are restored, so a new round may begin. And of course, these rounds are repeated until an Ahotnik falls victim to another OXO or a demon. So, who of you will achieve total dominion over the planet? So those are the basics of how a round works. Now, obviously there's lots going on here, and the thing is that, again, this is very much a prototype. So I already know that they're changing up the board. They've got a lot of different things in the work. Different player counts for different modes are going to be revealed in the campaign. So you want to keep a close eye and see what new things are coming, and different miniatures and different types of characters out on the board, demons and so forth. So these miniatures, let's just start with that. Wow. Again, prototype, but wow, these are amazing. I am blown away. These look fantastic on the board, and truly you get the sense of size. Yes, giant robots that 2 of you are controlling. So this theme greatly appeals to me. Just gives that Pacific Rim vibe, as you have 2 pilots per robot. You see the colored ones are the players, these purple are the demons, and there's a whole set of other figures and things that they're gonna have for this game as well. Again, check out the campaign for more info. But so typically, each player that controls the left-right brain of your mech or your giant robot is going to be sitting across from each other. So you won't be set up like I'm showing here. This is just visually so I can kind of show you what the different pieces look like. But what's really cool is that you're going to be placing one of your 3 actions into your slots, and you can perform 2 actions. So you have to be choosy, and you hope you're in sync with your fellow player, because you're going to secretly place it in a slot and place it face down. And then you'll go and turn around the table. Everyone will do this until they have 2 actions in place. And then you're going to reveal and take the appropriate action. Now again, you have 3 possible, but only 2 get played. So, and you'll do these in order, like we talked about before. You're going to do tactical, and then you're going to do movement, and then finally attacks. So the thing here though is that tactical has a lot of other components to it, but what's really crucial for you to know is that when you place these, what you really are after is the same action in the same slot. That is fully in sync with your fellow pilot. And in doing this, you're placing again those actions without showing what you're doing or talking about it. This is strictly behind the scenes, and then like I said, you reveal and take those actions. But the thing is that you do have a tiny bit of information on your main Ahotnik board. You have your health and your shields, but also you have for the tactical specifically that it'll show what you used last, which also means you can't do that same tactical action again the next turn. But you do have a tiny bit of info that allows you some flexibility about maybe what you're going to do on your next turn based on where you are on the board. That has a lot to do with it, and you can start to read each other's and what you're trying to plan out for that next attack or just getting out of the way. So again, your player board has slots 1 through 6, and it's important to note that those 1 through 6, especially for movement and attack, relate to the hexes, the position 1 through 6 out on the main board. But also the 1 through 6 has icons attached to it for your tactical abilities. And you have 6 different options here. And if you're in sync, you get to do that tactical ability or action. And the thing is, first you have rapid fire, obviously giving you more attack. 2 is a dash to move out on the board even more. And then 3 is very important. It is your shield recharge. I use that one quite a bit. And 4 is a repulsion. So you're going to be pushing your enemies out of the way perhaps. And then 5 is really neat actually. It's called concentrate, and it's a way to give you some heads up about what you might do on your next turn, how you might be more in sync with your fellow player. There's a lot of neat things around that, definitely. And then 6 is for your special powers or abilities. And each of the mechs have icons directly related to them that show up in the main rule book, showing you what their special abilities, and it's good for you to get kind of in tune with what your mech is capable of when you're taking it over. So lots of neat things there for sure. So what happens when you're not fully in sync? Well, then it's going to be a random decision. You know, you've played the same action, but you're in 2 different slots. Well, if it's movement, you're going to move in one of those 2 different directions. Or if it's an attack, you're attacking one of the 2 different directions. And everything is kind of reduced. So your attacking ability isn't as powerful. Your movement is much smaller or slower, I would say. And then, you know, the tactical abilities, again, are going to be somewhat diminished, but you know, there's 2 different ones that you tried to activate, and only one of those is actually going to actually hit or do the thing you needed to do. So being in sync again is definitely key, and I really like this aspect of the game. So once the 2 pilots have finished activating their Ahotnik, well then it's time for the demons to go. And basically they're going to be moving and attacking. Each of the demons has their own board with unique abilities for each. There's a handy reference guide in the rulebook showing you what all their special abilities and powers are, because it is very different for each of them. And they're all unique figures, just really cool. But these boards will show their health and what their potential shields are that they currently have, just like what you have with your mech or your giant robot. And you know, it is going to be this back and forth. And the first thing they're trying to do is close with their enemies. So they're looking at line of sight, what might be within the range or direction, but they're going to move right next to someone to go after them. However, if there is already someone next to them, they're going to attack them. And then you'll use their attack abilities, and you know, it is this exchange. It is a skirmish game. It's going to be this back and forth. And you have set point values for doing damage, and for you too, you know, based on how well you were synced will determine how much damage you're going to do to demons or your fellow Ahotniks. So it's an interesting battle back and forth, but really the sync, what is the really interesting part of the game for sure. And the demons are really there just to throw a wrench in your plans for world domination. So again, though, you will have to somewhat cooperatively manage them, because you can't let them overrun and, you know, just take over the board, because the threat level will go up as you get more of them out here. And there's also this radar which will determine how many more are going to spawn in a particular turn. This will move around the wheel, and it can get really bad at times. Obviously getting overrun by these demons is crucial, and there's going to be a turn order for the demons as well, but you're going to refer to those special abilities and attacks that each of them have, very unique one from the other. So but they are kind of an AI in the game. They can attack, but I think they're gonna have other game modes where a player could play as the demons, which is pretty neat. So definitely take a close look at that campaign page for more info. And of course that end round is just gonna be a cleanup and getting ready for the next and so forth. So, but again, what it really boils down to is how well you can sync with your fellow pilot. And you hope to be the last man standing. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this was just kind of a broad overview to give you a sense of the game, but there's obviously a lot of intricacies about how you maneuver around the board, how you deal with the demons and your fellow players, and try to eliminate them, right? And how you best work. Again, my favorite part of the game is that left-right brain, how you sync up with your fellow pilot and try to make the smart decisions. A lot of it, you can gain some wisdom about where you are on the board, and obviously like, oh, that's a pretty obvious choice what we should do. So based on the direction you're facing and what enemies are there, where you might move and so forth, I really like that aspect. And just keeping an eye on the demons, the ever-growing demons, and trying to not get overrun by them is obviously a thing I like in games, when you feel overrun and you have that time pressure almost, where you're like, okay, we've got to somewhat work together to eliminate these demons and get back to a normalcy here. But again, you hope to be the last one standing, and if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.